Great. I'm going to call roll, so signify by saying present or aye. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Chair Butler,
Present.
Commissioner Mina, Commissioner Ayala Johnson, Commissioner Morales.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Moran,
Present. I'm on my phone. Sorry, bad, poor service. I can't turn on my camera.
okay. Commissioner Riggs, Commissioner Wood,
Present.
Commissioner Martinez,
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez, Senator Campos, Representative Ruiz. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you, Ava. Our first agenda item, we might have to take a moment on, but if you all have received the minutes from the last meeting. Yes, no, maybe so. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I received them.
I would say, Terrence, you want to move on from this almost right away since we can't approve them at this time?
Yes, actually, I believe we do have quorum now. So
Oh,
let me
6?
count really quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we are at quorum.
I love to hear that. Well, thank you. Extra. I know in the summer it can be tougher to make things work, so I appreciate y'all being here. And on that note, is there any notes on any of the, notes on the agenda from the June 10th meeting? If not, I would like to put a motion in to approve them. If I'm allowed. Do I have any seconds?
Chair Butler, as a reminder, we had voted to do common consent of approval of the minutes and the agenda. So how we were doing it is as long as there were no objections, we were just approving and moving on.
Okay, I love that. I know, yeah, we don't have to do all the parliamentary procedure things, so huge fan. All right, I do want to then move on to opening up the floor for any public comments. Do we have any members of the public? Want to welcome you. How about this? If you're a member of the public, could you maybe pop on, say your name, pronouns, and any comments that you have for us?
Okay. You have Juan Pablo Villalobos Garcia. Raise their hand. The microphone is open. Juan.
Hola, buenas tardes, honorables miembros. Quisiera expresar un comentario público en mi lengua originaria. Soy un hombre latino de edad media. Soy una persona en recuperación, estuve en la prisión y tengo historial criminal. Soy el director ejecutivo de una organización llamada Latinx Recovery Center, Inc., ubicada en el condado de Washington. Durante mi tiempo en el estado de Oregon, me pudo ofrecer una segunda oportunidad. Había cometido un error, pero la sociedad me permitió educarme, formarme y me convertí en el primer consejero y mentor certificado de Venezuela. Además de esto, tengo una acreditación nacional a través de NEIRA, la Asociación Nacional de Adicciones. La razón por la cual hoy estoy aquí es porque tengo muchas inquietudes en áreas de educación, en áreas de equidad. Actualmente estoy en varios espacios públicos y soy parte de diferentes comités de la autoridad de Oregon. Soy parte del comité 988 y soy parte del comité de igualdad de salud. Quisiera comentar mi serie de inquietudes expresando que no veo en mi comunidad programas de reinserción social para jóvenes de la comunidad Latinx. Y creo que este es el espacio propicio para traer mi inquietud. Sé que hemos gastado miles de millones en programas educativos para jóvenes, pero no veo un programa en mi comunidad para personas jóvenes de mi comunidad que han cometido errores y quieren reinsertarse a la sociedad. Actualmente mi organización sin fines de lucro presta servicios de mentoría en la cárcel del condado de Washington. Quiero acotar que jamás hemos recibido financiamiento de ningún ente. Quiero comentar que hay una población gigante latina en el condado de Washington que no está recibiendo mentoría de abuso de sustancias. Pero no quiero extenderme porque también quiero hablar de temas de empleo y quiero comentar que en este espacio donde hablamos de diversidad y equidad, ¿cuáles son los espacios que nuestros hermanos latinos pueden acudir cuando tienen algunos casos o tienen récord para poder reinsertarse a la sociedad en un empleo? Y ese es el tema que quiero expresar el día de hoy. No hay estos espacios y creo que tengo que traer esta conversación a la mesa. Pero también quiero hablar en temas de justicia y de equidad nuevamente. Quiero expresar mi inconformidad a través de este punto al Departamento de Criminal Background Check en Salem, ya que este departamento en numeradas ocasiones ha negado certificaciones a personas en recuperación. Y creo que no tenemos una política de evaluación certera. En las cartas que se envían no se envían los motivos y razones por qué son negadas. Pero también, y para despedirme, quiero expresar que voy a estar presente en todos los comentarios públicos de este comité, porque en algún futuro espero ser parte de él, porque creo que estos son los espacios que la comunidad necesita. Yo soy un trabajador conductual, pero también soy un activista de derechos humanos. Espero que mis comentarios no suenen como un reclamo, tampoco suenen como una afrenta, pero tengo que salir con un paso adelante por mi comunidad venezolana e inmigrante a expresar lo que estamos pasando y muchísimas gracias por su tiempo.
Amazing. Thank you for being here. And hey, I just want to say, as a person in recovery, I really appreciate the work you're doing. As a mental health advocate, I appreciate the work you're doing. I would love to maybe have a one-on-one where we could discuss more about this denial and what that, maybe some things that we can help with, and learn more about the work that you do. I also do want to give the space if anyone was unable to use the interpreting services. If anyone needs any, put into the chat if you could, if you need the translator to turn it into, translate into English. Otherwise, I believe it'll be translated in the notes.
This is Joel Pelayo. We're supposed to have a presentation from OCHA, the next door in Cook River. So please let me know when is the time we can start, if that's okay with you.
Yes, please. I will give you my personal email.
Thank you.
And yes, definitely, please. I look forward. Yeah, you could use more ex-workers on the commission itself. So thank you for being here. Does anyone have any comments to add to this or otherwise?
Chair Butler, you have a second member of the public who has raised their hand.
Welcome, please. Yes, name, pronouns, and what your comments are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Vanessa Castillo. I use she, her pronouns. And I have met a couple of you over at the Bracero Day celebration last week. Excited to kind of be here and officially introduce myself. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Manager with the Oregon Latino Health Coalition. And I wanted to just take some time to say hello, explain a little bit about our work, and then hopefully see y'all again getting on the agenda officially and talking with y'all about the work that we're doing coming up in 2025. So if it's all right with you, I'll kind of do a general overview and then I won't take too much of your time. All righty. Well, so part of the work that I'm doing with the Oregon Latino Health Coalition is to figure out ways that we can create sustainable funding efforts for the Healthier Oregon Program's CBO navigation grantee program. And what we're trying to do is create accessibility to health insurance, specifically through the Oregon Health Plan, right? And we're convening a group of grantees, of community members together starting a coalition on this initiative to be able to figure out what our policy agenda is coming up in 2025. So y'all will hear back from me once that's more solidified and put in place, and just wanted to put that on your radar. Really looking at culturally specific and linguistically specific services to getting access to public health. And then on the other side, we're doing and really looking to invest in the behavioral mental health space, right? So we have the Latino Emotional Health Collaborative that meets on a monthly basis, and we're working to see how we can really invest in the behavioral mental health sphere for Latinx providers and engage educators and folks in the behavioral mental health space. So I will definitely be back to talk with you more about this space, and hopefully we can figure out a way to, with the health equity team's recommendations list, with, you know, the Crisis de Nuestro Bienestar report, really building off of those pieces, right? Just to kind of see what collaboration might look like. So thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions or to follow up.
Hello, this is, oh, sorry.
No, please.
This is Commissioner Moran. I would love to follow up with you. I'm a medical provider in behavioral health in Central Oregon. So I would love to connect and yeah, follow up with you.
Amazing. I would love that. Thank you so much.
And I was just gonna say, it was so fabulous to meet you last Friday, and your card is in my stack to send an email out to you this week. So definitely love to have a one-on-one, talk about how we can support you. And yeah, definitely there's so many great resources out there, and providing that accessibility in a organic and culturally competent way is everything. So thank you for being here. Is there anyone else? Last call for public comments before we move on to commissioner updates. Of course, feel free to message us. We might have some time later on, or could we have a topic that relates if you have some more. But on that note, I would love to move on to our next agenda item, which is commissioner updates. And I can pick on people, or if you have some, feel free to speak out. I would love to hear from Commissioner Moran about Braceros Day and other work.
I think that the update from the Bracero Day is on the agenda for later. So we could talk about that at that time. And then also my other update is also on the agenda with Dr. Myers. So we could further talk about that at that time.
Well, I just want to specifically thank you for making Friday's event possible. It was super incredible just to be gathered around, and I think putting events together in the summer again can be tougher, and it was a huge success. So thank you. Let's see, I know we have 4 other commissioners on. You want me to call on you, or can maybe Melina, would you mind tagging someone?
Sorry, I can't see who else is on.
How about
sorry.
Commissioner Woods, would you mind popping on?
Yeah,
If you have
sure.
any
I really don't have any updates as of today. It's just been kind of slow for me, but I hope to have some more by next meeting.
We also can move on if there are no more updates.
I'm happy to give an update. Commissioner Joanne Mina Sheehurst, during the past 5 days, we had very terrible fires in Central Oregon. I think that we are seeing that even though we work with Oregon Emergency Management and FEMA to make sure that our community-based organizations had the connections, it still feels a little bit like we're scrambling every time. And on that note, you know, great appreciation for firefighters, and still looking forward to seeing all these updates in more than English, and really for our emergency command folks to have a approach that is cultural specific and community center rather than just, looking at the trees. Yeah, just appreciating the work and understanding, that we still have more work to go. And that's a little update. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for setting me up for success as chair. Glad to have you here. Let's see. I'm going to call on Commissioner Nancy Alayo. Do you have any updates for us?
Hello, everyone. I apologize for joining a little bit late. I had some technical issues joining with the link. And would like to provide some updates on the Happy Spectrum part. I have been a full supporter of a book that it is called The Hispanic Origins of Oregon, Los Orígenes Hispanos de Oregón, which is an academy book in collaboration with Instituto de Cultura Oregoniana and the Western Oregon University. This book has been presented in Mexico, in Oregon, of course, and the most recent trip in Spain, talking about, the Hispanic origins of our state. And I will love to bring that conversation in a future meeting to learn about this book, the different expectations and the different history that this book covers. It's about 250 years of history, untold history about the first explorers that came and created trading trails with the natives people in this area. It is also a book that has an input of the Grand Ronde tribes with Dr. David G. Lewis, who also put a part into this book. And well, I've been happily promoting it. The last presentation was at the Mexican Consulate in Portland, and we're planning to create a few other presentations where I will love to have other commissioners join. But I wanted to throw it out there. It's a project that has been running for about 5 years since it started, and it's barely taking that momentum and being the case and being shared. It is also a free book. It is accessible to schools to implement in their school programs. It is the first book that was created in Spanish and then translated into English. So usually it's the other way around. And so I'm very proud to share that book and to support those that history and those efforts. So I'd love to set something up if you have any more questions about it. If you want a copy, I will be dropping a link for the PDF version here. And we can definitely get some physical copies for the book to share with everybody else. But that's something that I've been working on or supporting. I'm not really doing much. I'm just helping promote the book. And what else? And I think that's all I can share for this meeting.
Well, thank you. Your many-faceted multimedia experience is always appreciated. And hopefully look forward to seeing you maybe down in Salem for the proclamation next month.
Yes.
I think the last one is Gustavo, Commissioner Morales. Do you have any updates?
No updates. Thank you for asking.
Well, thank you for being there. Oh, and we have 7. Is Commissioner Martinez and Campos are here. I'm sorry, I did not realize we had more. It's the most people we've had here all. I love it. Would either of you mind sharing any updates?
I have no updates. This is my first meeting. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Glad to have you.
I have no updates, but thanks.
Alrighty,
This is Commissioner Moran. I just wanted to make a shout out to Commissioner Morales. He did an amazing press conference with the OHA director, Dr. Hathi, yesterday, and I appreciate the work you're doing.
Alrighty. And I'm a little green here, but Saba, do you want me to make a update for me, or should I wait till the end for strategic planning?
I have one more update, Katia, if that's okay.
Please. No, please.
Just wanted to let you all know that I got a chance to chat with the governor when she came to Central Oregon a couple weeks ago. She was not aware that OCHA is also working with FEMA and Oregon Emergency Management on these two groundbreaking Spanish first English translated work. So just a reminder that that we are active partners, and that it's important that all commissioners participate, so that we are seen and we're able to bring the work of all the government to our communities. And that's it. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. I know you kind of you found out she was speaking somewhere else, and I'm so grateful for you for advocating, and I'm glad you got to speak with her as well. Alrighty.
Chair Butler, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering, do you want me to share an update for myself now, or wait to the end?
Please, now would be great.
Alrighty, last but not least, probably the biggest thing is Braceros Day, huge success. I was super grateful to be part of it. It was so cool to hear the Bracero presence speak on their experience and also having like their families there. You can really feel the camaraderie, the community, while also really feeling the honoring, both in the opening, I would say opening number, but opening ceremony, as well as just being at the Oregon Historical Society. So huge shout out to Commissioner Ron, to our member of the citizen, Nina, to Saba, to make that happen. I was just able to participate in the opening meeting for the American 250 Commission. So thank you Terrence, for bringing that to our attention and being able to be part of it. Sounds like it's going to be a huge nationwide celebration in July 2026. And I'm grateful to be one of the few members of color who are going to be there, and hopefully going to be trying our best to keep the mindfulness, keep the intentionality as we go into this, so very, I don't want to say it's a patriotic day, but it's also remembering, some of the things that are less pretty parts of our history, and trying to honor both of them. The only thing that I would say is I'm also going to be reaching out to everyone else and trying to set up individual meetings with all of y'all, so I can hear about your priorities and your experiences, and use that to help us sort of gauge our participation in some of the strategic plannings in our biennium goals and some of our subcommittees. So I will look for an email or a text from me in the future. Alrighty, any other commissioner updates? Last call. Alrighty, our first guest speaker is from next door, Lorena Sprager, if I'm pronouncing that right. Sprager.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joel Pelayo, and my pronouns is he or el, and I work at the next door in Coot River at MECHEA. It stands for Mid-Columbia Health Equity Advocates. And with me, I have the privilege to have Lorena Sprager and also Liliana Lachino. They are my co-workers. So Next Door is an organization with more than 50 years of existence here in this area of Mid-Columbia. So the reason we are here is because we would like to share about our advocacy work on Oregon's driver license inequities. So I'm gonna leave with you, Lorena, with a brief background in this issue. Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Joel, and thank you all for the opportunity to be here. Our very brief agenda for our very brief presentation today is me sharing a little bit of background and ongoing concerns. We'll share a couple of documents with you, driver's license issue mapping that we've done, and a one-page summary of needs and recommendations of how to address the inequities. We'd like to invite you all to a brainstorm, and then we'll have questions and discussion as well. So thanks again for the opportunity to be here. In 2021, driver's licenses for all began in Oregon, and it became very quickly apparent that there were issues with the knowledge test. And that's the test that it's that written exam to get your driver's license that's given on computer. And since then, we've been working to advocate for equity in the driver's license manual in Spanish and other languages other than English, and also the knowledge tests in Spanish and other languages other than English. This has included partnering with Spanish-speaking Latino community leaders in our region through the group that Joel and Viviana and I are staff for, called Mid-Columbia Health Equity Advocates. We're the Regional Health Equity Coalition in the Gorge. We've reached out to ODOT administrators. We've held 2 community meetings with them about the inequity concerns. We presented to you all last year in the summer. We presented to the Oregon Health Equity Action Group last year as well. We've produced this 1-pager of concerns and recommendations, as well as that issue mapping that I've referred to. And we've reached out to legislators by email to share concerns. And we've also shared our concerns with community leaders through the Oregon Transportation Committee, among a number of other things. So since those 2 community meetings that we held with ODOT administrators, we either received no response or significantly delayed response from them to our request for follow-up. There was an immediate response when we submitted the required concerns in writing when we presented to the Oregon Transportation Committee. And there was also an immediate response when we requested updated pass-fail data for that knowledge test that we'll share with you today. And we really appreciate that. So from the response from ODOT to the Transportation Committee in writing, it does appear that they believe that they have done their due diligence around inequity concerns, but very serious concerns remain. For instance, here's one concern. ODOT had the Spanish language manual reviewed and updated by bilingual and biliterate DMV staff, but they are not professional translators, nor are they plain language specialists. And it appears that the information and the terms in the manual are not consistent with the information and the terms in the knowledge test. Another concern is that ODOT had the test questions retranslated in October of last year, but the failure rate for the Spanish language knowledge test increased last year. And so it will be important to keep an eye on those pass-fail rates to see if that retranslation is going to make a difference. And it is also unclear whether the translators used Mexican Spanish vocabulary. And this is really essential since most Spanish speakers in Oregon are from Mexico or of Mexican descent and are familiar with Spanish language vocabulary from Mexico. Another concern, fail rates in most languages other than English remain higher than the English language fail rates. I'll just give you one example. Last year's English fail rate for the knowledge test was 51%, Spanish 77%. And that's an inequity we're seeing. And it's not the failure of the individuals taking the test, it's a systems failure. Another concern, ODOT is not willing to share the Spanish language knowledge test questions with the Nextdoor for grade level analysis, despite our willingness to sign a memorandum of agreement that the 1 or 2 staff reviewing it will honor confidentiality of those questions. 2 last concerns. Oh, I'm sorry.
Quick question. Is there a
I'm so sorry.
No worries. Is there a presentation supposed to be shared right now?
I'm not quite understanding.
Like, is there a slide, like presentation materials? Because the screen was shared. Now
Oh, thank you. We're leaving you with this summary of concerns. And I'm so sorry that we weren't doing that. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
So two concerns. There's one of our strong recommendations was that they establish a committee. But to this date, no committee has been established of language communities that are harshly affected by these fail rates, which is the majority other than English of the languages. And ODOT really needs to hear concerns about translations as well as inappropriate treatment of non-English speakers at DMV offices. And our final very serious concern is that ODOT appears to believe that the knowledge test on the computer is easy to fill out, while there are many in our state who have not had the privilege of computer literacy, including in some non-English speaking immigrant groups. And requests for being able to take the test with pen and paper have been disregarded. And with that, I'll pass to Joel to refer us to the sheets and issue mapping that I've been telling you about.
Thank you, Lorena. Yes, I just briefly will invite you to look at the driver license spreadsheet and one pager. This I hope that Liliana Lachino can share this information on the chat. Also, you will have the opportunity to review it later in time individually.
And Liliana, I'm wondering if we could look at the table, the pass-fail table that we've been talking about. Thank you so much. So this is for the results for 2023 of pass-fail rates for the written test or the knowledge test for the Oregon driver's license, broken down by language. And as you can see, 51% fail rate in English, but in most other languages, it's a significantly higher fail rate. And we really are concerned about translation inequities. Thank you, Liliana.
You're welcome. And with that being said, oh, I see a hand up.
Hi, this is Commissioner Moran. I was just wondering, well, thank you for your continued work on this, first of all. I remember when you came last summer and thanks for the refresher on kind of the timeline. I'm glad that one, it was the test was retranslated, but it doesn't seem to be making a difference. But my question is, what was the response from ODOT with the question that other languages other than English have such a high fail rate?
I'm trying to remember from the community meetings. I don't think it was really addressed. We brought it up as a concern, and it was not public, it was not stated, it was, but it's my impression, and I could be mistaken, I often am, that that was just the fail rate.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, those are significantly higher on that chart that you showed.
Significantly higher
Yeah,
in almost all the other languages other than English.
absolutely. So it's quite striking that they would just dismiss it on that level. What do you see as the next steps for OCHA to assist, or what is your ask of us? How could we help?
I'm so glad you asked, and Liliana will lead us in that activity. Thank you
for that.
so much, Commissioner Moran.
And thank you. And I also, for us to reference, I also included those documents in the chat. So hopefully you all have access to those as well. But moving along, what is our ask? And we are hoping to do a little brainstorming with you all. But we have 3 questions essentially. With the first one, whom in the legislature should we take our concerns to, along with the issue mapping and one pager that we just shared with you? Yes.
Hi,
Commissioner.
Liliana. Thank you all for your work, and thank you for your persistency, most of all, because it seems like you've been knocking at our door over a year now. I had the same question about what legislatures will be supportive of this work, and I don't even, are folks, our own reps here present? No. So I don't have any suggestions, but I would be curious if Rep. Ruiz or Senator Campos would be willing to take on this issue. Because it seems to me like there needs to be some political will, right? You have tried the advocacy route and you are getting bureaucracy in return. I remember when we first got the driver's licenses for all, we had our compañera Lorena Manso con Causa mobilizing community. Have you tried the community organizing approach as opposed to the lobby advocacy meetings?
So last year we actually connected with Representative Courtney Neron and met with one of his staff, Pablo Nieves, I believe is his name if I recall correctly. And we also had 1 or 2 meetings with him, and he was going to share our advocacy with the Latino Council in their counties. But unfortunately, we weren't able to make, I think at the time, I can't remember the bill that they were working on for Spanish education classes for the driver's license, which the bill ended up dying. It did not make it through legislation. But we weren't able to make any amendments just because of the time that we contacted him. And that's why also we're here. We want to see how we can move into legislature, if that's a possibility. Whom should we be speaking to? Whom should we have meetings with? And then getting also thoughts on how to move this forward. Go ahead.
Liliana, you got me brainstorming now. ¿Han podido explorar si el cambio que se necesita es administrativo, si es legislativo?
That's a good question. And I'm not sure of the response for that.
Quizás es administrativo, pero no hemos tenido éxito por ese camino. It may be administrative, but we have not had success through that route.
So, la gobernadora podría ser otro punto de contacto porque deja mal su administración. Y si están, pues, haciendo un trabajo no tan bueno.
Kyle?
I just messaged Dr. Kyle.
So I was the staffer who was kind of trying to help liaise between ODOT and DMV and community advocates around this. And ODOT and the DMV and the administrator there, Amy Joyce, was quite responsive with the responses and had suggested being very open to having a meeting with folks, and I just wanted to just check in with you, Lorena and Liliana and Noel and team of, would that be helpful? I just want to offer that up of, would it be helpful for our team to set up a meeting with the DMV to be able to kind of help facilitate a conversation?
So Equity and Inclusion Division with OHA, we've also had, you know, all the option of, and we've met with them with DMV ODA a few times.
Okay.
And we've, you know, voiced our concerns, and I mean, the data pretty much shows the inequities. And we've tried the approach of like a confidentiality memorandum of agreement. But I'm not sure if it would make a difference if you would support with.
No, it
with
sounds like you've already met with
scheduling.
them, right? Like if you've already met with them, then yeah, that was kind of the suggestion that I was offering. And one of the things that I know that was in the response around the fail rates across the board of all languages going up, one of the explanations from ODA and DMV was that they had made a change that typically before the change, you had to wait a few days to come back to take the driver's license exam if you failed. And they had made a change where you could take it immediately after failing. And so they had kind of used that as an explanation of maybe why they were seeing fail rates go up across the board, is because people could just keep taking it as many times as they wanted in the same day. However, if there are major differences between languages compared to English, then obviously there needs to be some more exploration in that. But I just mainly wanted to see if you had had a chance to chat with Amy Joyce, and if you already have, then by all means, I'll turn it back over to the brainstorm.
Thank you for that offer, Kyle. And if that were to change, we will definitely reach out to you and ask for support if you're still open to that.
So this is Terrence. Or go ahead.
No, you had your hand up. I didn't have my hand up. What were you gonna say?
So I have two separate thoughts of how to move this work forward. I would love, if OCHA is interested, to invite ODOT to the next commission meeting to dive more into the details as far as why things haven't been resolved, or maybe barriers that they're experiencing on the agency front. So that's one track. And then I would also love for you all to reach out to the two legislators that represent OCHA, which is Senator Campos and Representative Ricky Ruiz. And you would be able to just schedule meetings with them directly on the OLIS website using their legislature email. So I want to use those as two options to connect with folks, to start building those relationships personally and professionally.
Thank you. I made a note of that as well.
And I was just gonna say, it sounds like, because I think I was in on that. I was just texting Dr. Kyle about, because I remember there was a state auditor there. Am I misremembering? And they were sort of trying to pressure them as this sort of like DEI audit of these things, because I had, from my understanding, there already had been reading materials that were evaluated and seen at these different grade levels. But it sounds like you haven't even had access to the tests to be able to know that 100%. That's so peculiar to me. That seems like an easy way to figure this out. So then it makes me think that, well, it could be administratively fixed. It sounds like we're gonna have to go through the legislative means to bring attention to it. So there's a simple form even to fill out that they can create a draft of a bill that would address this. And we have one of our priorities as language access. It's likely something our subcommittee regularly helps you all out with.
And I have a question in regards to that form. Would that be an OCHA or OACO?
I have a literal copy of it, and I know it is accessible on the website. I'm sure Saba honestly knows.
Okay.
Not to lean us off it too heavily. But it goes into this thing, and we can put extra pressure. They get hundreds of grants, but they're also in this like off season, if I understand. So they have like more time and ability to translate these concerns, possible solutions into legislative language, and basically a bill form.
Yeah, and just to clarify, so you're thinking of the legislative concept form through the Oregon legislature. I can try to find a copy of that as well and drop it into the chat.
Perfect. 2 roads to Rome, but we can definitely keep at them, and I will definitely make it a personal mission to have ODOT at, if not October's meeting, then our final one in December. Do you have any other like timelines or any other like things that we're trying to like get this addressed at a certain time? I mean, obviously as soon as possible, but any other mile markers? What?
Lily.
Or any other notes from next door?
Lily?
I'm sorry on the question. I couldn't, your voice cut off.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just asking, is there any other, we'll try to have something on the books on our end.
Okay.
In our next meeting is in October and then December, either one of those. But I was asking if there's any other things that we could help with, any other mile markers that you're trying to hit. So we can kind of, what's our next steps? What can we do to support your next steps?
Yeah, thank you. So one of them was, brainstorming on possible contact in legislatures for us to, start emailing and hopefully setting up meetings. And we did get a couple of names of people. One of them would be, for example, if needed, would any of you be able to do like a warm handoff, or, come with us to a short meeting with the legislatures, and just getting the conversation awareness out, and help, I think that's going to be helping us with like the whole brainstorming, and definitely the legislative concept sounds like a good idea, and we'll definitely look into it.
Amazing.
Or Lorena, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I'm not clear what it would take to help ODOT understand how serious these concerns are and how serious these barriers are. I mean, we have community members who, like, there's one community member who has very limited English but can read and speak a little in English, and failed the Spanish language written exam 4 times, the Spanish language knowledge test. Somebody said, why don't you try it in English? And this person said, my English is terrible. Like, I can read it okay, but I mean, it's just not that good. I can't imagine I'd do well, but I'll try it because I failed 4 times on the Spanish, and they passed. So this is, people study, they distress, they spend so much time reading over the manual, then they get to the written test in Spanish, and the questions aren't clear, some of the vocabulary isn't familiar. That was the concern about Spanish with the Mexican influence. There are many speakers of Spanish from many countries in Oregon, but the vast majority are from Mexico. That's why it's so essential that Spanish be lean that way in terms of vocabulary, and that the vocabulary in the manual and terms and information in the manual match terms and questions in the knowledge test.
Is there a Spanish
I'm not
speaking?
sure what it would take.
I know, I mean, it's not so, because I'm curious to know what the reading level is at for the, is there an Oregon for the manual in Spanish?
Oh.
Has anyone evaluated that?
Yes, we did, because we had access to that. I grade level assess the Spanish language manual. Lily, I don't know if I don't have the file right in front of me. We can get that to you. The recommended grade level for adults in the public is 5th to 7th grade.
Oh, fair.
And
I thought it was 3rd grade, so I'm glad.
and right, and so the manual in Spanish ranges, it depends on the section. It ranges from 7th to, I believe, 10th or 11th. It depends on the section. So there's a lot of variation, but you know, what we know is that consistently when we translate from English to Spanish, and we've heard this is the case in many other languages, it increases the grade level in the translated version and from the original version. And so it's very important that not only we do good translation, but that we do plain language edits without changing any content, without changing any meaning, being very careful about that, but do plain language edits once it's been translated because of that inequity that happens with translation.
Yes. Well, thank you all for speaking here today. I really appreciate you being here, and I would love to maybe set something up in a week or so and just see what our plan of action can be and how we can help, because it definitely seems like such a fixable problem, something that's within our range. So on that note is I just want to say thank you again. And if anyone has any more comments, it sounds like we have lots of things that are in the group chat for information that you can give us, and we'll certainly be reaching out with the concept form and any context that we can give you.
I just like to mention that we have somebody with raising their hand. Joanne, I think she has her hand up. She's raising her hand.
Jamina, is there something you'd like to add?
Thank you. Gracias, Joel. I think that since there are multiple languages involved, it would be wise to see the other commissions. And also, I wouldn't discount the community organizing piece, because we know that we can have very solid legislative proposals that will die, and nothing happens without that political will. And to have political will, we need to have political power, and we only have political power as a community. So that's, that's one thing. So the more we can let community know of their rights, and I think it will be valuable. And then lastly, who can we else reach? I suggest the Senate Majority Leader, Kate Lever. Also, the House Leader, I forgot the name. Just so that leadership can be aware, and they might be more knowledgeable about where there's a piece of legislation that will complement this work. So those are my suggestions. And thank you all for your time, and happy also to join you all in any meetings. And also we're gonna have our legislative days coming up, so we can include this important work on our bullet points and make sure the legislators know that this matters. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. All right, our next order of business is our new business, and it's going to be Dr. Kyle. And actually, I think we're going to touch on this again, language access, and how we can incorporate this into that strategic priority. So on that note, I'm going to turn over the floor to Dr. Kyle.
Chair Butler, before we go on to the next order of business, I would actually recommend that OCHA adopt this as one of their priority areas to continue to move on the DMV work specifically around language access. You do have language justice in public meetings, but I think it could really be expanded, for this DMV issue as well. So just wanting to mention that, and would recommend a vote.
I think we will definitely do that.
This is Commissioner Moran. I'll put a motion forward to adopt language access, including access to fair DMV testing as one of our top priorities.
Commissioner Wood, she, her pronouns, I second that.
And so passes.
And Kathy, now I'm thinking, it is important that we give authority to the chair or whoever is going to be speaking on behalf of OCHA to talk about these issues. Because just being a priority doesn't mean that we can actually advocate on them. So I think it's important that we decide, you know, spoke people. I don't know, but
So we're actually going to be discussing subcommittee members, and I would love for that to be a portion of that.
sweet.
Alrighty. Dr. Kyle, are you feeling ready?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of kind of visual slide decks for you because I'm going to share a little bit about an environmental scan I've been sharing with all of the commissions to help you all just get a little bit of a understanding of the state enterprise and kind of how all of your priorities can slot into that. So I'll share that first, if you'll just humor me for a moment while I get that slide deck up and ready.
While you're getting the slide deck, do we want to go back and vote on the priority, like the versus adopting? Makes sense.
Sorry, may I interject here? So OCHA has voted to approve things through common consent. You have a motion and a second. So I would just suggest a space for any objections if anyone has some. If there are none, then the motion is adopted.
Opening the floor for any objections. Alrighty, we'll take that silence as it passes with flying colors.
Okay, great. I am going to share screen so you can see it. Everybody see a slide deck okay? Okay, great. This is just going to be a pretty brief presentation on this. Please just speak up if you want to kind of take us into a direction if you have any questions. No harm in interrupting me. This is for you. Okay, so I am going to share kind of just what an environmental scan is, why this is really important for OCHA, a little bit about your 7 strategic priority areas. Not going too far into disparity data for OCHA, but just really wanting to give you a little bit of shared framework to be able to have more of a conversation around what you can do with your priority areas. So really just an environmental scan is just the process of gathering information about topics and its relationship to an organization. So in this capacity, I'm trying to help show the state enterprise and all of the different agencies and how they kind of fit into categories of the 7 strategic priority areas that all of the commissions have, and then kind of help you focus in a little bit more on specific agencies that we can help connect you with to figure out where there might be some state level change possibilities. So while, a caveat here that your statutes may evolve a little bit, I don't expect you to be able to read this too. It's more of just a visual. If you were to imagine the laws of Oregon in a book, your chapter or your page around the Oregon Commission on Hispanic Affairs is this. This is what it says. This is the law passed by the legislative body and the rules and authority of your commission. And what I really want to narrow in on is your duties, and that the Commission on Hispanic Affairs shall monitor existing programs and legislation designed to meet the needs of the Hispanic population, that you can identify and research problem areas affecting your community and recommend actions to the governor and the legislative assembly, and also state agencies. So really wanting to make sure you have that aspect of it. So you have mandated legal power to influence state level change for Hispanic and Latino, Latina, Latina Oregonians. So hoping to give you this little snapshot. So there's something called the Oregon Blue Book. It's kind of like the encyclopedia or yellow pages of Oregon state government. And there's a link here. I'll share this slide deck with you so you have it, but you can click around all of these different agencies and learn more about like their divisions, and online you can click through their websites and find out more about their programs. So in the Oregon state government enterprise, there are 84 agencies. So like the Oregon Health Authority is an agency, and the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office is an agency, and the Oregon Department of Human Services is an agency. And then in agencies, in bigger ones, not necessarily ours, they have different divisions and offices. So for example, in the Department of Human Services, they have an Office of Immigrant and Refugee Advancement, and that office runs programs like the Refugee Services Program, which gives medical and food and cash and childcare benefits to newcomers. And fun fact, the former OCHA co-chair, Toxonale Gillespie, is the director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Advancement. So pretty cool lily pad step of commissioner to executive director there. So these are the 7 strategic priority areas, and I've kind of done a crude containment here of trying to kind of organize the different agencies into one of these 7 buckets, but like just putting the caveat there that this isn't perfect. There's so much overlap, right, with a lot of these agencies that they touch on a lot of it, but just to kind of try to have a framework for talking about this. So right now, OCHA's voted on priorities are really around, I'm putting it in civic engagement, language equity in public meetings, or I mean, we can kind of think of a broader well-being, right? Belonging, community, like with the DMV case. You have a priority around housing and families with the I-10 mortgage lending equity. You also have a priority around justice and safety with decentralized legal representation. And so these are kind of the buckets of what we've got. So around civic engagement, these are some of the agencies, boards, and commissions in the state that touch on this. For example, the Elections Division in the Secretary of State's office, the Oregon State Legislature, even though that's not an agency, it's important. Y'all are here. We've got the Translation Advisory Council, which was established in 2021 to make sure all elections materials are translated in the most common languages spoken in Oregon. So you could meet up with them, learn more about their program. There's the, now that I think about it, they could be good to reach out to in just partnership and collaboration around this DMV issue. So we can help with that. These are agencies, boards, and commissions that are, you know, kind of related to like some jobs in the economy things. And we've got environmental justice related agencies and boards, you know, things from Oregon Parks and Recreation or the Water Resources Department. And a little sidebar on this, there is a council called the Environmental Justice Council, and it was officially established or kind of restructured in 2022 as the EJC within the Office of the Governor. And it's a 13-member statewide council that's responsible for specifically advising the governor and state natural resources about environmental justice issues. And OCHA gets a member appointed to this council. So right now, the OCHA appointed commissioner is Commissioner Gustavo Morales. And in a moment, I won't put you on the spot right now, Commissioner Morales, but would love to hear, you know, would love to have you share a little bit about your work on the EJC and what that could look like for maybe the next commissioner who wants to get in line as your successor for EJC. these are some health-related agencies, boards, and commissions, and these are some housing and families-related agencies, boards, and commissions. You have already been working quite closely with Oregon Housing and Community Services on the I-10 lending topic, which is really great. Just kind of to share a little bit about what these websites look like. So Andrea Bell is the executive director of OHCS, or the Oregon Housing and Community Services Agency, and they have all these different kinds of programs around compliance and home ownership and housing assistance. And so to me, I'm kind of thinking about your priority as, like housing maybe more globally. And then of course you can have specific things like I-10 lending that you're focusing on. But this is one of the programs that Oregon Housing and Community Services operates or administers, is a down payment assistance funding program. And they grant money to different community-based organizations who then do home ownership education and counseling and support for getting maybe first-time homeowners or newcomers, people being able to get them into homes. And so, an idea could be, reaching out to some of these down payment assistance awarded organizations to learn more about what's going on for folks, for Latino folks who are part of these programs. Is there anything on like a state level that you may be able to help with if there's any specific barriers that are coming up? The Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries, or BOLI, they have a civil rights division who really handle the complaints around fair housing. And so if anything is coming up around discrimination in housing, this is a state agency that you could kind of form some relationships with and learn more about. There's also the bias response hotline through the Department of Justice, and they can help support people who have experienced non-criminal hostility. So for example, if somebody's maybe home gets targeted and there are bias, or they believe it's because of their country of origin or the languages they speak, but there isn't a way to kind of prove that there was a crime, the bias hotline can help with things like fixing a window that maybe got broken or getting security cameras and things like that. So that's a state program that could be worth knowing about and sharing with community. And then these are some education related agencies, boards, and commissions, some justice, safety, and policing boards and commissions. And so I'm just wanting to share those with you to kind of just help you understand that actually the scope of, the state enterprise is finite. There's a lot to it, of course, but when it comes to your priorities, there are actually like very specific agencies and boards and commissions and folks who it makes sense for you to build relationships with to understand the landscape around that issue on the state level, and then work with them with cultural competency, with language access in those programs, data collection, community feedback, workforce diversity, all kinds of things. So that kind of brings me to another point of, I believe that you are at the point of, it would be really meaningful and productive to have subcommittees around your priorities so that you can kind of divide up and really progress the work in between these every other month full commission meetings. So just putting that out there, but Chair Butler will be able to lead you in that discussion. And that is it on this one. So I will stop sharing and turn it back over to you, Chair Butler, and commissioners to and discuss how this is landing and the subcommittee's idea.
I'm going to open, what can you say? There you go. I'm going to open it to commissioners. I've had an opportunity to talk to Dr. Cal first, so I want to give everyone the opportunity to talk about what these strategic priorities mean to you. And thank you for collecting these resources. Super helpful to see where to go, at least to get a start. Yeah, there we go. It's frozen. All right, if there are no comments, do you want to move on to your next line item? Or is there?
Hi, this is Commissioner Moran. So I think it is fantastic to think about subcommittees, as I feel like every other month meeting fits people's capacity with work life, but sometimes it's hard to work on our specific priorities unless there is someone leading it and there's forward progression. So I like the idea of specific subcommittees. And then also, I don't know if this is the point to talk about additional priorities. I see on the agenda it's a little bit down, but I'm not exactly sure what you want to do.
Are you talking about the domestic violence subcommittee?
Oops, that one too. And then I just would love to float another idea for another priority for us this coming year.
Well, I love that, and I honestly I was going to talk about a little later, but I would love to essentially have one action item that we're working on with all 7 strategic priorities. So I don't know if it's going to fall under that, but there's definitely room for more. Essentially, I just want to make sure. Are you still working on the environmental scan? Or are you moving on to the? Has this included the biennial report?
So I'm all done, like the environmental scan, I'm all done with that. I do have kind of a policy and research update, but yeah,
I just wanted to check in to see where we were in case there is places later to add questions for additional.
Sure, I'm happy to just kind of whip through these slides to just, and then you'll have all the information that you need.
And so leave a lot of time to talk about these subcommittees, or a decent amount of time to talk about these, our biennium goals and how that translates into our subcommittees. So unless there's any more general comments, I think let's move on to the next.
Share again.
Is it me or you?
Sorry, no, it's me. Sorry, I'm just being kind of slow. Okay. All right. Excuse the sad lack of your OCHA logo. It was there on the other screen, but we're gonna move along. So just real quickly, this is kind of to help with the conversation around progressing on commission priorities. You have these 3 really around housing and language access and legal representation. I'm going to have just a few bonus updates for you around the Joint Organ Advocacy Commission Subcommittee on Domestic Violence Prevention and statewide coordination. And then Momnibus really quick, biennium reports really quick, and legislative days really quick. So with the housing, you had OHCS come and present to you in June, and I believe they said that they were going to come and present again to you in October around what they have been doing on potentially an administrative level to make sure that ITIN holders are having equitable, chances with their programs. So this would be something that a subcommittee could help work on, is touching base with OHCS before the October meeting and seeing are things still going ahead. And then, of course, the legislative days that's coming up next month, there is going to be a Senate Committee on Housing and a House Committee on Housing. Both of them are going to be on Tuesday, September 24th. Sorry, that's a typo in there that it says September 23rd. And so this might just be something that you may want to either tune into because it's live streamed, or attend in person at the Capitol to learn more about. And with language equity in public meetings, you may be at the point of just needing a legislative sponsor, a champion, someone to submit a legislative concept draft for you on this. I want to note that OCHA, the Oregon Commission on Asian and Pacific Islander Affairs, also has language equity as a priority, and they know that you have it as one too, and are really open to collaborating on this. So this could be a cross-commission subcommittee. And yeah, I think the call to action, y'all are at the point that you could probably move forward with a legislative concept request to have funding for interpretation and translation services and language justice at the advocacy commissions level, and or B, thinking broader around the state enterprise. And then third, your decentralized legal representation for immigrants. Former past chair Mina had put together some potential solutions on this and even draft language of amendments on a bill. And so this is something that legal representation or legal system subcommittee could work on, is speaking with legislators around like the potential of amending language in a former Senate bill to move it from centralized legal representation to decentralized, but I would want to defer to Commissioner Mina on this one. And then this is going to be something that we would want to vote on from you all, is the domestic violence prevention statewide coordination. You might not know about this yet, and so just for those of you who aren't aware of this, I want to share because this is pretty exciting. The Oregon Commission for Women in 2022 really amplified the need for domestic violence to be treated as a public health crisis and not solely in the criminal justice system. And in 2023, the Secretary of State's office published an advisory report around the need for some more statewide coordination with domestic violence. And in 2024, a joint Oregon Advocacy Commission subcommittee has really started to form. It was first kind of informal with members from all 4 commissions coming together on almost, like every couple of months, and it is now official. And so OCBA and OCFW have voted to formally participate on it. OCHA is about to have their vote on it, and that's likely going to pass. And so now we're wanting to see, does OCHA, Commissioner Moran is involved, Representative Ruiz is involved, would OCHA like to formally vote to be an official member of this subcommittee? And some great news, and I hope Andre is still here, so shout out to Andre Beeler, our policy advisor. The report came out in September, and by like May or June, we kind of didn't know, is stuff happening around this on a statewide level? And Eli Ritchie is the Chief Audit Executive and Statewide Response Coordinator at the Department of Administrative Services. And he has been tasked by the governor's office, thank you, Andre, and the Chief Operating Officer of the state, Barry Leslie, tasked with developing a statewide response to this advisory report that OCFW was really critical in making happen. And there's now this subcommittee that's meeting every month with joint commissioners and domestic violence advocates and people from across the state enterprise. The Department of Justice is going to be joining them next week. And one of the immediate needs that has kind of come to the attention of the subcommittee is that there is going to be a funding gap from the Victims of Crime Act and the Department of Justice because federal funds have been cut. And so the state is just not going to have as much money as they typically do from the federal government to administer to service providers. And so in October, there's going to be about a 40% funding cut. And there's going to be an ask from the Department of Justice likely about asking the state, the legislators at the legislative days in September for some funding to help cover this immediate funding gap. And so this is kind of, some exciting cross-commission work that is happening. And this is, so first, an invitation to any of you who might be interested in joining the next DV subcommittee meeting is next Thursday, August 15th from 11 to 12:30. Department of Justice folks are going to be there to help the subcommittee members understand kind of the gap and the ask. And I would love to have OCHA's vote now on whether or not you want to officially participate. So I'm going to pause right there in case there's any questions, and for also Commissioner Moran to share.
Yeah, hello. So I met with Eli Ritchie this morning. And he is working very hard. And then the next 2 weeks, he said he's going to have his recommendations to the governor on next steps. And so that's very exciting. And I just feel like this is such important work. Housing is at the top of the list of how to secure housing for domestic violence survivors. Also, we talked a lot about workforce and increasing the workforce. Specifically, of course, we were talking about adding more Latinos to the providers and who provide the services. So there's a lot of talk and there's a lot of work to do. And so, yes, I second what Dr. Myers is saying. We would invite any more commissioners to join. And I definitely think that we should adopt this subcommittee and join the other commissions. So I'd like to put a motion forward to create a domestic violence subcommittee.
Thank you, thank you. And I was just gonna ask you to make it official, and I would love to second that. Is there any objections or comments? All right, it is officially adopted. I'm super glad to be part of that. I was about to ask, before we move on to some of the last new business items, if anyone else would like to participate in that subcommittee. Otherwise, I would be willing to. Willing and excited.
So I could continue meeting, and I would love if you were my co-representative. I don't know.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited. I think a lot when I was talking with Dr. Heller before, I think it's just so important to create these cross-commission coalitions, and that's how we really get stuff done. So I'm excited, and I will be there at the end, or well, not the end, but September 22nd, 23rd. And I'm sure one of us or whoever is the most qualified to speak on behalf of the extra funding, we're going to do our part to get that gap filled. I want to talk about the other priorities, but before then, is there any more commentary on the domestic violence subcommittee before we move on?
Not a comment, Chair Butler. I do want to note that if there is quorum, it does constitute as a public meeting. So stating that for the joint subcommittee on domestic violence awareness and statewide coordination, but also same for other subcommittees as well. So I just wanted to say that out loud.
Yes, thank you for that reminder. But I mean, when you'd have to have like 6 members from each commission for that to really come up, right? Yes, okay, but thank you. Always good to have that voice in the room. Which actually I'd say the next one I would love, because essentially my idea is on this, prior to me joining as the chair, we would have every other week meetings about fundraising. So my idea is essentially to have 3 dates, and I will coordinate that via email with people, and we'll have the subcommittee meetings there. You're also, of course, welcome to outside of that to meet, but that way we're checking in and making sure there's movement happening, and if there's not, then we can start that. So on that note, do we have anyone, especially now with the added DMV portion, that we like to be part of the subcommittee for language access? So that includes interpreters, but also this DMV piece as well. I was gonna ask Commissioner Mina if she'd be willing to be with me on that one, but no pressure.
Hi, here, Commissioner Ayala. I think I know I'll be interested in being part of this committee and just kind of pushing more on that sense and see what other leads we can find, who else we can partner with. I'm definitely up to meeting and bringing some of those collaborations into OCHA and this committee. So come in.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. And our next one, of course, my iPad just died. What was the second priority we were speaking on? Not or I guess the housing one for sure. And now I'm drawing a blank. Well, let's just for not for for sake, for the housing, again, where they're going to come speaking in October. I would love to meet with them once or twice prior. Decentralized representation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I was gonna lean on someone for the last one, especially just because that's something that I'm definitely no worries, Dr. Kyle. That's something that I'm both learning new as an issue and also the solution. So I don't know if again to go, Jamie, I know these were all things you created. So anything that you'd be willing to be not chair, to be commissioner, former chair. Are they still here? Yes.
I don't see Commissioner Mina online. I don't know if she's somewhere.
I'll reach
She's
out.
no longer here.
Oh, no longer. I'll reach out specifically, but okay, I could get one person to volunteer to be on the subcommittee for the housing.
Commissioner
Just
Mina just
rejoined.
came back in.
Right on time.
Right on time, to good call. Hi, Commissioner Vito. We were just trying to gather one person to be kind of leading a subcommittee, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to either on the housing or on the decentralized representation front. Yeah, well, if there's no decisions that are going to be made here, I'll be reaching out individually. Again, I was going to anyways, just try to gauge everyone's availabilities, passions, expertise, so we can move forward in a strategic way. So if there's no volunteers at this moment, we will get some. But I will start coordinating those subcommittee meetings and getting as much moving forward on that. The only one that I was going to also add is that I know the Commission on Women is working on universal childcare as one of their priorities, and I had talked to one of their members about, again, possibly working in collaboration on that. If anyone has interest in that subcommittee.
So this is Terrence. I would recommend adopting it as a priority area first before having a commissioner participate on one of those subcommittees for another commission. So there may be, time for that this meeting. Also just mentioning that we are more than happy from the office standpoint to send out an email with a poll attached with all of the priority areas, asking for commissioners to self-select which priorities that they would like to be part of the subcommittee around. So just mentioning that as a potential avenue as well.
Fabulous, thank you. Well, I just want to gauge interest too before we make that sort of motion. Or opposition to, or objection. Alrighty, on that note, I guess I'm going to move on, but just look forward those subcommittee planning those meetings. And on that note, I think it's perfect timing. Director, if you I think you're next on the new business.
Absolutely. So my discussion today is going to be around official duties. I sent out a policy on a couple of different occasions. Hopefully folks had a chance to read the policy. Just to give a high-level overview, the purpose of this policy is to recommend official duties and responsibilities that can be considered for reimbursable activities or expenses and compensation eligible activities for all of the organ advocacy commissions. OCHA has not voted on this as a policy yet that they would like to adopt, and I would love for a vote today to make that a reality for OCHA. Other commissions have adopted this as a policy, so I do want to note that, and would be more than happy to provide additional purpose if folks have not read the policy, or answer any questions that may come up.
All right, thank you. I want to open the floor if anyone has any comments or questions about the commissioner reimbursement guide.
Just to Yeah, just to add a little bit more information as well. So it does talk about official duties of what a commissioner can be responsible for as part of their official capacity. So I think it's a good guide for new commissioners coming on board to know what's expected of them as commissioners. Also talks through the reimbursement process for activities as well as compensation eligible, which would be through House Bill 2992, and I forget the ORS off the top of my head. But that ORS allows for stipends to be paid for commission activities, which would be coming out of the general fund budget for OCHA. So hopefully that context provides a little bit more information to make an informed vote.
All right, if there are no comments or questions, I would move to adopt this guide. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Wood, I second that.
Yes, it passes. Well, if you haven't got a chance to check it out, do so. It can be super helpful if you're new and or just have questions in general. And appreciate you putting that together, Director.
No problem. Thank you. We appreciate it as well. And we'll move on to the next item for business.
All right, I think I'm up. I will keep it brief. My name is Micah Ingram. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the health equity team lead here at the OACO, working under House Bill 4052 that declared racism a public health crisis in the state of Oregon. I just kind of wanted to bring a few recommendations forward to the commission just to potentially adopt as priorities, get you thinking about ways that we could potentially sort of cross-pollinate. We're doing something similar with OCBA, where some of their priorities sort of hit on some of the recommendations that our team is working on. And so I'm kind of going around to every community and offering that as a for you all to get a little bit involved with our health equity team, have some admin support behind you. I'm going to drop those recommendations in the chat. My team was so lovely enough to go through our list and sort of pull some recommendations that our team is working on that we think you all might be interested in. The first is advocating for underserved communities in court, better working conditions for outdoor workers, inclusive, linguistically accessible materials in schools, data disaggregation and decolonization, linguistically and culturally specific healthcare services, and then also culturally specific dental services. Those are all different areas that we as a team are working on. And so if anyone on the commission is interested in sort of adding that on as a priority or sort of including that in any of the work that you all want to do, like feel free to let me know. Our team is already working on these recommendations, and so I think it would be wise for us to sort of collab on any of these efforts, especially since we all know capacity is pretty tight and our team of 3 is working on these. And so we would be more than happy to help y'all with any subcommittees that might overlap in these areas. And yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. You do not need to come up with any like answers right now, but just wanted to throw that out there as an option for you all to get involved in our work and for us to help you all out. We also had a wonderful meeting with Morgan, who is from DCBS. She is the staff for the Universal Health Plan Governance Board, which is a very lengthy name, but I'm going to drop this link in the chat as well. And she really wanted to plug have me plug this opportunity for you all. So right now They are looking for folks to serve on their committees. There is a short timeline around these applications. The application is due this coming Monday, but it's a really, really cool opportunity to get involved and have some say in like a potential single payer system for the state of Oregon, which I think is super cool, but that could just be like the policy nerd side of me. Our meeting today, she talked about the 4 different committees that they're looking to recruit for. The first is finance. Second is around like plan and design. So figuring out exactly what types of benefits that folks will be getting paid for, how that sort of system works. There's going to be a community engagement committee, and then there's also going to be like an operations committee. Operations and plan design will definitely both hit on like healthcare workforce. But I do think it'd be really, really important to have someone in this room potentially apply to one of these committees. I think it's a really cool way to get involved. And yeah, if you have any questions for me about that, feel free to send me an email, but I dropped that link in the chat for you all. And again, that application is due this coming Monday. It's a pretty quick turnaround. But yeah, I think it would be a really cool opportunity if anyone is looking to get more involved. And this is something that's like new to the state, new, exciting, and innovative. So yeah, also just wanted to plug that for everybody. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, let me know. Yeah, Commissioner Mina.
Michael, do you already have legislatures for the 2 initiatives you mentioned, the language access and DMV issue?
I didn't quite hear everything you said. Can you repeat that? It was
It's on
just
the
a little
chat.
bit. So right now, our team, for all of the things that I listed in the chat, we're working on like tightening up those recommendations prior to reaching out to legislators and CBOs to adopt any of these as potential LCs and process improvements. Legislators are very aware of like the work that our team is doing. We've had multiple meetings with Rep. Nose, Rep. Nelson, Rep. Reynolds. And so, yeah, as of now, our timeline is to get the recommendations that we're going to be working on tightened up before LC deadline, which is something we're still trying to figure out. It'll probably be towards the end of September, but we're also going to be sending more information out about how folks can get involved with that process. Our team is putting together these really cool work groups. And we're also having we're giving folks the opportunity to get paid for their time. And so I know Commissioner Mina, you're probably on the, you are on the EAG listserv, and we'll be sending that out to you all. We can also send it out to all the commissioners as well. So if you can just spread that out amongst your networks, that would be great. But our team is still hammering out final details around that, but we'll be launching our health equity team work groups really soon. Yes, there is an opportunity to get legislators on board. Again, right now, we're really just focusing on like tightening up these recommendations prior to reaching out to legislators. But really, it's going to be up to like the CBOs who are going to be sponsoring those bills to really push that forward, because we still have the guardrails of being state agency employees. So I can't bring them an LC and then ask them to sponsor it. It kind of has to go through a pathway of going through a CBO and then a legislator. But that is definitely authority that you all have to reach out to your legislators for things that our team is working on, and so on. So yeah, hopefully that piece is clear. We kind of have to go through like the middleman, which is our wonderful CBOs.
Well, fabulous. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? And I will be looking into the community engagement one and appreciate the work you're doing. I also know there's a HEAL meeting on Tuesday. Is it Tuesdays, right? At 1:30?
Yeah, so
every other Tuesday.
Yeah, so we used to have our equity action group meetings, which kind of was a trickle down from the HEAL meetings. So now we're putting together these work groups. So the EAG is on pause, and then we're launching work groups very, very soon. So yeah, just keep a lookout on your emails for that information. Our team's still working on like some of the kinks that come with like logistics and planning, but we're really excited about that.
No, they're great places to just tune in and get some great information. And here, there's so many people involved, so many different spectrums of people that are participating in those solutions. So good to be a part of it. Well, in that case, I just want to open the floor if there's any more new business comments or questions about the new business. All right. Well, thank you all, of
You
course.
have a hand up,
Oh.
Commissioner Mina.
Commissioner Mina.
That may have been an older hand from the previous round of comments. One thing I'll add to what Michael was mentioning around the priorities, language access within the DMV was one of those recommendations, so that's now going to be prioritized, especially with OCHA now having this as an actual priority area. So just wanting to mention that as well.
Okay, and just want to note, Commissioner Mina added one more question. If community members don't have a CBO that wants to support their recommendation, what's going to happen to that recommendation? Will community members be notified? Mika, do you have an answer to that?
Yeah, that's right now we are working on like outreach for these recommendations. And then the hope is to connect with CBOs and recruit them to the work groups based off their willingness to then take on that recommendation. So we're not going to put together a work group and have all of these people work on these recommendations, not knowing which CBOs might be interested in moving them forward. So that's kind of the piece of like the intentionality behind recruitment. I really don't want to put like folks through a work group like for several different meetings and then not have a CBO sponsor them. So we're really hoping that we get interest from at least one CBO per LC. And so yeah, that's kind of the plan moving forward. But I'm sure that that'll be like in the back of our mind, kind of thinking about like what are next steps if we don't get any bites on any of these LCs.
Thank you. Great question and great response. Any more about this? Oh, just reading Mina's no CBO, no recommendation, regardless of those part of recommendations. I think it sounds that means like it's remaining to be seen on that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Somewhat. So right now the team is working off of the short list of recommendations. There's roughly around 20 recommendations that they're prioritized that has been evaluated from folks on the equity action group. There's 80 some recommendations that aren't getting the same level of attention just due to staff capacity and just realizing that the legislative session starts roughly in 4 to 5 months.
Did we lose our director to a frozen screen?
Yeah.
Fabulous. I'm gonna assume they have the capacity to add any more comments into the chat. But I do want to keep us moving along, keeping in mind time. Do we have any more comments on new business or anything that could be added to the chat too that we can add in case it needs to be added to the next one? Do we have any? I think it sounds like basically, is there a timeline on knowing what the CBOs are, and if there is there a contingent plan?
Yeah, just in the sake of time, I'm happy to answer offline And Commissioner Mina, I can follow up with you via email or continue chatting in the chat.
Alrighty, thank you. And on that note, we are going to move on to vice chair elections. Is the director back? They are. Oh, they are.
Yes, yes, I am back, and I apologize. Technical difficulties, always fun during the workday. So for vice chair elections, just wanting to bring this topic back up from the last OCHA meeting in June. There was not a decision to adopt or to have a vice chair within OCHA. There was an email vote. We did not receive unanimous consent, so we do need to discuss that here in this meeting. So we did have one individual who was nominated, which is Commissioner Wood. I would love to bring that to the forefront. And then also open it up if there's any other commissioner that would like to run or nominate for vice chair, please mention now. And if not, let's move forward with the vote.
I'm gonna open up the floor for any other nominations. Alright, on that note, I nominate Christina Woods for vice chair. Do I have a second?
This is Commissioner Moran. I'll second that.
Fabulous. It passes. Congratulations, Vice Chair Woods. It's an honor to serve with you as we join the commission together. Do you have any victorious words?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I will do my best to do my best.
One quick comment. Was there any opposition or objection? Okay, guess not. So that is perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fabulous. And I also do, I want to ask Saber or Terrence, can I nominate someone for the position at large, or someone who wants to be part of the executive committee? Or do I have any volunteers who wants to be part of the executive committee?
Chair Butler, you can nominate someone, anyone can nominate themselves, and you can also nominate other folks as well. I do want to note there are a couple people who are not here today. If you want to nominate them, you do have a full commission.
I would love to nominate someone. Do we have any executive committee members? Is there three of us right now total, or just the two of us?
The executive committee consists of the chair, the vice chair, and 2 elected members of the commission.
Yeah, so we're saying it right now. We have 1, 2.
Correct.
We don't have a third or fourth on the.
This would be the time for you to ask for nominations for those other 2 open positions.
Okay, open 2. There we go. Okay, so we got there. Do I have any nominations for either of the executive committee positions?
I would like to nominate Commissioner Mina for the executive committee.
Commissioner Mina, would you accept? You can choose to accept or decline.
Not at this moment, thank you.
Yeah. I nominate Commissioner Moran for an executive committee position. Also, if it helps, we can do you want to expand on the roles of the duties of this role? Either Saber or Director Terrence.
Yes, I will need to pull up the OCHA bylaws really quick, so give me a minute or two.
I guess I was mostly hinting it's not too much responsibility. It's mostly just helping us with some of the votes. Being able to show that we have, not quorum, but still some consensus. So that note is Commissioner Moran, do you accept the nomination?
I'll accept that nomination.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Do I have any objections? Alrighty, well, congratulations, Executive Committee Member Ron. Thank you for I'm excited for your knowledge and experience helping us.
Thank you. And I just have to say my phone is going to die, so I will be dropping off this call any moment.
Well,
I apologize.
Well, I'm glad I got you while we could then.
No worries. Would you like me to give an overview of the executive committee duties, Chair Butler?
If you could, a quick overview.
Absolutely. So reviews and recommends to the commission appropriate action concerning past and present programs. Priorities of the commission shall be established by the commission as a whole, just as a reminder. Determined prior to the last meeting of June every year, the meeting dates and locations for July through June meetings in the following year. In setting the meeting sites, the committee shall consider locations that maximize community and budgetary resources. So you will be able to make decisions around OCHA's funding. So that's general fund as well as other funds. At the call of the chair reviews the agenda for each regularly scheduled meeting of the commission, reviews the commission's budget request, which are submitted to the governor, and if an appropriation allows, reviews and recommends to the commission the expenditure plan for any internal standing and temporary committees. So those are the 5 duties.
Thank you, thank you. And on that note, I would love to nominate Commissioner Nancy Alaya if they would be willing.
I would love to accept this nomination. I would love to have the pleasure to work with you, Katia, and also, kind of see where I can be useful. So yes, I will accept. And then I was thinking about nominating other people, but I don't know who's missing. I think some new commissioners are also missing. But
I think, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I'll accept. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you both. I want to, of course, acknowledge your bandwidth, and we'll just we're calling upon you when needed. So
Thank you.
I think on that note, we are at a full executive committee. So thank you. Director, is there
Doesn't
any
need a vote, right? So we still need the vote.
Right. Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll go ahead and second that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Whitaker.
And do I have any objections? And there we
I
go.
have a question. Who are the commissioners that are missing today in this meeting?
We are missing
OC
Representative
Gonzalez,
Ruiz. Yep. Senator Campos, Ozzy Gonzalez, and Commissioner Riggs.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, thank you. As a director, do you have any more pieces of information on this topic?
None on this topic. I would recommend to extend the meeting by 10 minutes to get through the rest of the agenda. I can consolidate my ED report to 2 to 3 minutes.
Well, I appreciate that. I think I've also had a decent amount of time to talk about strategic planning. So basically I'll be creating subcommittees. We'll be having 3 meetings between each bi-monthly meeting. I will be leaning on people who've created these past priorities, while also looking for ways to create coalition so that we can get movement on some of the others. But I would say, I would love to report back on this for the next one. And I also do want to give some space for Saba to talk about Bracero Day, as well as Hispanic Heritage Month and Proclamation.
Thank you, Chair Butler. First, I just want to say you're almost through your first meeting, so congratulations on the job well done so far. I just want to kick it off with the conversation on Hispanic Heritage Month. As you all know, that is coming up in a very short few weeks, September 15 through October 15. Every year, our commissions participate with in partnership with the governor's office. We host proclamation signings as well as events, and that could be our own events in partnership with other CBOs. And so I have touched base with Chair Butler and discussed that this year it would really be great to partner with some other community organization that is already hosting a Hispanic Heritage Month celebration to elevate their work, really expand our audience and whatnot. So I want to thank Commissioner Moran. I think she might be gone, for editing and updating the proclamation language, as well as Commissioner Ayala and Wood for their input, and everyone for just approval. That's been sent off to the governor's office. So hoping to hear back on that in the next couple of weeks. I've also reached out to a number of organizations that are doing community events on that partnership front. I haven't heard a ton back, but when I do, I will be sure to keep you all updated. If there are events that are on your radar that you would really love for OCHA to participate, please send me a brief email and I can do some coordinating on the back end. Any questions on that? That was it for the Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation as of now. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of the governor's schedule, and we won't hear back on that until about maybe 2 weeks in advance of the proclamation signing. No questions? Amazing. If you're a little camera shy, you all know my email. Please feel free to reach out. Next up, Bracero Day recap. So I want to start by saying a big thank you to a number of people. Representative Ricky Ruiz, who is not able to make it here. Of course, he championed the bill, and his office was instrumental in making this event happen. He did a lot of fundraising for us, so I just want to really appreciate him and his work on behalf of OCHA. Congresswoman Andrea Salinas, who moved her schedule around when I reached out to her office. They said she has another event that evening, but she zipped it back from Salem to make sure that she was a part of this event. So really appreciate her and her team getting her there and making this happen. I also really want to appreciate Chair Butler, Commissioner Moran, Nina Gallo, and Omar, who were part of the planning committee, and they showed up weekly with updates. So really appreciate you all. Another big shout out to the Oregon Department of Human Services volunteers with the Mi Gente ERG. Really appreciate every single one of them volunteering their time on a Friday evening to make our event happen. This ranged from folks signing people in, taking photos, and really just want to give a big shout out to Susie, who was our main volunteer assigned to Angel Guerrero, who was our guest of honor, and she really took care of him and his family. So I just want to appreciate her and everyone else who showed up that day. OCHA Omeyokan for the dances in the beginning. They were beautiful, dedicated to the history, and just really appreciate it. So I want to appreciate everyone who was a part of making that happen. We did have over 150 RSVPs. The venue itself in the main area that we were in, the capacity of that room is 120. And as those of you who showed up saw, it was a pretty full room. So I think overall it was a great event. I am going to send a follow-up email. I'm just waiting on some news coverage from Telemundo, hoping that they can send me the link so I can include that in there. I do want to drop in the link that we have on the Oregon Newsroom, where we post our news stories across agencies, and hoping that you all can share across your platforms. It is posted on social media as well, so would really love if everyone can elevate that. If there's anything that you want to include in that recap email, more than happy to do that as well. I also want to give a couple of minutes here to the people who were in attendance to provide some feedback, whether that's positive or constructive. What did you like about it? What would you like to see different in the future? And of course, Commissioner Moran noted that this is not going to be the end of this this bill or this history is a part of Oregon's history. So if there's something that you have on your radar that you think would be great for possibly a future bill or future honor or whatever, I would really love to hear that. And I know Commissioner Moran dropped off. Commissioner Butler, you were there. And I believe, I'm totally blanking on no. So I think it might be your turn to provide input, Chair Butler.
Sure. I mean, fabulous event, really, really intentional. And I think, like you said, it's a building block. This was the first state recognized holiday. How do we continue expand upon this? I think we talked about maybe having some sort of permanent memorial somewhere, something statue, something that's a bit more commemorative. Not that, I mean, the exhibits were great, but it was just a small portion of the larger labor movement. And yeah, I just think there can be more to be done. I mean, honestly, if I'm thinking in a full logistic capacity, I think there's fundraising possibilities if we were able to make this into something that's yeah, like a regular part of the Hispanic culture here in Oregon. That's the only thing I can think of right now, but we're also having a meeting at 4 today about it, aren't we?
Yeah, we're having a follow-up meeting with everyone who's part of the planning committee. So that will be yourself and hopefully some of the volunteers join as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
And our new Commissioner Gonzalez was there as well. We had Commissioner Further Branch from the Commission on Black Affairs present. So lots of community support. Overall, I think it was positive feedback. Definitely received feedback on some things that could be changed in the future. So please don't be shy. I do understand time is it's limited today. So if you want to follow up with me via email or text message, please let me know.
Well, thank you again. You definitely had a heavy hand in making that possible. So I cannot wait to see where it goes. And on that note, is the director ready for their report or have they come back?
Yes, I am back. I will go ahead and speed through just recognizing time. So OCHA for the 2023-25 budget, biennial budget. There currently are no funds left in general fund for commissioner activities for reimbursement. That's for the full rest of the biennium until June 30th, 2025. Currently, there are some other funds available. We're still waiting on some checks from the two sponsors for the Bracero event to come in. So I will be able to report out in the next meeting of how much money is actually left in that account. For any reimbursement requests, please send those to myself as well as Ava, and we will get those processed as soon as possible. For commissioner recruitment, currently there are no vacancies on OCHA. However, Commissioner Morales' term will be ending on September 24th of this year. And it's always recommended to continue to recruit for new commissioners in case if there's vacancies on the commission. I'm just going to hit a couple of high notes for internal staff update. So we've created an onboarding checklist. 2 new commissioners on OCHA have gone through that process. We're always looking for continuous quality improvement in anything that we're doing. So we are, going to be making adjustments for the next round of new commissioners. We also just submitted our agency request budget, or ARB is what we have called it internally, to our CFO as well as governor's office policy advisor. So we should be getting some feedback on that in the next coming months, and then also look forward to seeing that being adopted into the governor's recommended budget, which is GRB in the next step of the state agency budgeting process. I've listed the LCs and POPs on the document that you all should have. Just to hit those on a very high note, we have 2 legislative concepts. One is for statute standardization, and that's across all 4 advocacy commissions. We're trying to consolidate the language. We do have a draft of that and look forward to bringing that up in the next OCHA meeting as well. And the second legislative concept is to change administrator to executive director in statute. For the 3 POPs or policy option packages, we have extending the health equity team until June 30th, 2026. We also have establishing 2 new OACO staff to support the work of the advocacy commissions, focusing on policy and research, and ideally those positions will start July 1st of 2026, which is what we got the green light for at this moment in time from the governor's office. Our 3rd POP is for continuation of language translation services, but it's for it to actually be a line item in our actual budget system. Also, just 2 other updates. September legislative days, those are going to be from September 23rd to the 25th. Kyle did share some information on that earlier. Look forward to your attendance and participation in legislative days to advocate for priority areas on behalf of OCHA. The other meeting to be cognizant about is our Joint Commission Summit meeting, which is going to be on October 25th, 2024. And we're moving that date from the originally proposed August 30th date. So new calendar invite's going to be going out, and please be on the lookout for that as well. Last update that I'll mention is we are still planning the reception for Mahoney Hall and the governor for all of 4 advocacy commissions. Right now we're planning for something early September, so please be on the lookout for that. There will be an email going out as we formalize and finalize the details around that meeting. Other than that, I will turn it back over to you, Chair Butler.
Thank you for that. I think the invitations for the 25th already went out, but do you have a date on that thing you just mentioned that's tentative?
Not yet. I'm still working on the date, but as soon as I do have a final date, I will make sure I send that out to all commissions.
Awesome. Perfect. Are there any comments, questions, concerns about the director's report? Alrighty. Well, on that note, at 3:12, I want to mention that our next meeting is on October 10th, and I want to note our new date and time. So Thursdays 1 to 3. Thank you all for making the adjustments. Seemed like we were able to have more people here, so that's a good thing. Is there any more announcements besides things that we've already mentioned? Alrighty, well, I look forward to seeing y'all soon. I'll be reaching out about subcommittee positions as well as starting to coordinate those meetings. And we will see y'all hopefully sometime in September at one of these fabulous events. All right, on that note, we are adjourned.